Could you just speak about, what it was like preparing for that first time evangelizing and what your first outing ended up being like?
I hate to say this, I had to force myself to go. I look at it this way. It wasn't about me. I serve God, and He's prompted me to go. I'm going to go and leave the consequences of whatever happens in His hand. Okay, so that almost completely releases me of a lot of fears. And because He said to go, I'm going to obey Him.
Welcome to Stories from the Street. I'm Brian.
And I'm Bob.
Thank you for joining us today. We have Jeff Scrimenti. He's one of our team leaders in Salem, Oregon, and he's going to be speaking about his experience getting started as a team leader and how he moved from fear to excitement in his work of evangelization. I hope you enjoy it.
Give me joy in the morning.
Hey, Jeff, thanks for being on with us today.
Hi, good morning.
Hey, good morning. Well, it's good morning there. We're over here in the Eastern time zone. We've already had lunch and everything.
Right.
But it is exciting that you're over there on the West Coast and you recently started as a team leader for us. So I just wanted to give you a chance to introduce yourself and tell us a little about your background.
Well, I'm Jeff Scrimenti. I'm in Salem, Oregon, and in Oregon there's quite a few non-denominational churches, right? And I noticed that when I first moved here 15 years ago. I started with my church going to Bible studies, and the more I learned about the life of Christ and the apostles, the more I felt a calling that I needed to do more and to share more.
Were you always Catholic, Jeff?
And oh yeah, I was raised Catholic. I went to Catholic school. I come from a very large Italian family from the East Coast. I got more serious about my faith, after I got married. You go through those years when in your 20s where you're kind of searching, and I just got a lot more serious with it and wanted to get more involved.
Did something happen, Jeff, or was there an incident, or was just this kind of gradual thing that that the Holy Spirit worked over time with you?
Well, I think He's been working over time with me, and He's spending a lot of time working on me, I think, too. As far as the evangelization is concerned, I was sitting in church 2 years ago, and wasn't somebody else started a program, and then I just got a prompting, that it was my quote unquote responsibility to at least participate and get some things going. That was a few years ago, and slowly but surely we've been able to start a team, get some training here. We've actively started hitting the streets, even with COVID. It's been a real experience.
Yeah, well, I'm excited to talk to you about what it's been recently, especially with COVID. But when did you get started doing street evangelization? You said that was a couple years ago?
Last year, and I got the Archdiocese behind having a training program, the BET. And so we had that in last September. Adam came out, and we had a pretty good showing. And then we started to hit the holidays and in the winter, which is kind of tough to go out and evangelize. And then COVID hit, and then even with COVID hitting, I said, I'm committed to this ministry and to this apostolate. Every Saturday morning I go out.
Well, one of the things I want to emphasize that I think is really cool is the fact that you don't work in a parish, correct?
I don't.
You don't work for the Catholic Church?
Parish?
Yeah, you don't. It's not like you have a job in the parish or anything. So you're just a faithful lay Catholic. And then you're the one who said that I would love to see more Catholic evangelists in our community. And then you took it to the pastor, and then that pastor took it to the diocese. And so your desire to see more Catholic evangelize led not only your parish, but also the diocese to want to bring out one of our national speakers, Adam, to be able to lead a training to help equip more Catholics for that ministry.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I'm just saying that's really cool. I mean, like most of the time you think like, in order for something big to happen, it needs to come from the diocese or it needs to come from the parish. And I think it's great when initiatives do start that way. But just the fact that it started with you as a faithful layman saying, I want to do what I can to build up a culture of evangelization here in the diocese. In not that it's over, but the fact that you're able to start to get the backing of a parish and diocese is really cool.
Well, we were lucky because I was going to church in Mount Angel, and I moved. We started going to church in Salem, okay? And fortunately, one of the parishioners is the faith formation director for the archdiocese. So I got him involved. He was all for it. And so we also were able to get Adam on the local Catholic radio station as well. So it was broadcast all over. St. Joseph's, I believe, is the largest parish in the state of Oregon. We're here in Salem. And that we are almost 70% Hispanic. So now I see that opportunity for ministry to the Hispanic community as well. I've seen personal experience. I've seen people being evangelized by Mormons and by Jehovah's Witnesses. And I said to myself, we're losing a lot of people to that and into the culture. And I said, I might not be able to solve the whole problem, but I'll be able to at least try to help and spread the good word and spread the truth. So
yeah, it's one soul at a time, right? You with me, it was like, I've got to do something. I'm not worried about the big picture. I know, I'm going to go to heaven and Jesus is going to talk to me. So at least I have to do my part. I have to, when you start thinking huge pictures, it's like, oh, well, you're going to get this disheartened pretty quick. So it starts with a mustard seed, my man. So praise God for that.
Yeah. Like you said, Bob, one step at a time. And you do a lot. I've done a lot of praying, to give me some guidance. And I'm looking at my experience on the street now as an opportunity for fun. And I've been meeting some really, really, really wonderful people. Catholic, non-Catholic, non-Christian, and so it's a nice opportunity to I won't say hone your skills, but it's a nice opportunity to meet the community. They see me there every week. I have a spot. What else? And I'm adjusting and modifying how I approach people. When I approach them, I pray, should I be talking to this person or not? We have a lot of different, cards and rosaries and CDs and other items to pass out, and different ways that we can, communicate with people. And I find that I do a lot of praying on, what should I do today? Or if I'm talking to somebody, what are they asking questions about? And if they have questions, I can give them a pamphlet, on like objections to the Catholic Church. I mean, for example, we have, people want to know maybe how to pray the rosary, why we have confession, numerous topics, and I do it in the spirit of, how would you say? I do it in a spirit that we're both trying to deepen our faith, whoever I'm talking to, and we're both just learning. It's a learning process between. So it's not combative. It's just a very open, and I have a personal interest in different faith traditions. So I want them to talk to me because I want to say, well, why do you guys not do this? Why do you guys do this? And it's nice to talk to a lot of, especially Protestants, because their knowledge of the Bible is very, very good for a lot of them,
One of the things I wanted to emphasize as well is I told you how great was that you were able to get something started. And I said, I think a lot of people say we want evangelization, so we need to train. And so you didn't just say, I want to train and I want to get other people trained. You said, I want to go out and do it. And you did get started. And I know you just kind of walked through in that general sense what happens, which is our method of evangelization, of giving away these rosaries and medals, to be able to approach people in this non-confrontational way. Everyone loves free stuff, but not that just as a means of saying, hey, I want to be able to, we're not just people who just want to pass out great sacramentals, even if we do believe they carry grace with them. But we also want to use, we also pray each time that it actually leads to a conversation where we are able to talk about their faith. So I wanted to even just get into that first time you evangelized. I think you mentioned that you had a little bit of fear of going out. Could you just speak about, what it was like preparing for that first time evangelizing and what your first outing ended up being like?
I hate to say this, I had to force myself to go. And I look at it this way. It wasn't about me. I serve God, and He's prompted me to go. I'm going to go and leave the consequences of whatever happens in His hands. Okay, so almost completely releases me of a lot of fears. And because he said to go, I'm going to obey him. And so I went. And you just have to plant yourself on a street corner with your signs and your supplies, and ask people if you can pray for them for something. And believe me, now a lot of people are asking for prayer, and they come up and they approach you and they talk to you, or they just encourage you. Most people. So it's a fun experience. But the fear factors, it's starting to lessen every week. I mean, I've got my time, I got my spot. I actually have people who go to the Salem market every weekend, and they know that I'm going to be there, and they come by and they talk. In fact, I have one lady, she comes by, and I'll be out there for 2 hours, and sometimes she's there for 2 hours with me every week. And there's other people I know from different other ministries, different churches. They come by, and we talk, and we pray, and that's nice. And so it's a great opportunity because there's a lot of traffic. People are relaxed. They're having fun. My whole commitment to this ministry is to be joyful and to have fun. Because it's taking out of my time. And I said, if I'm going to do something, it's going to be for the glory of God, and it should be enjoyable. And it's been very enjoyable. It's a lot of fun. I've met some wonderful people. I don't know if I said that before. So
what were some of those thoughts, those fearful thoughts in your head? What were you thinking could go wrong?
Well, what happens if they ask me questions about the Bible that I don't know exactly? One, or there's some of our sacramental practices, if I can't explain them fully. And then, I had to rely on my business communication skills, as a financial advisor. I do a lot of client interviews and I do a lot of research. So I said, I think the easiest thing to do is just to say, hey, listen, there's a lot of different background on this, topic. Here's some brochures that can articulate, the reasons why we do that better than I can. And so, or if I don't know, or if it doesn't articulate it even more, I say, well, listen, let's have a conversation with it. I'll buy you a cup of coffee. Or if you're coming next week, I'll be ready for you. So it's an exploratory joint venture to find the truth. Okay, it isn't me against them, and so we're trying to find those common grounds where we can connect first, and then move on.
So what you're telling me, Jeff, is
kind of funny.
You didn't prepare every possible question and get an answer to everything possible that someone could ever ask you for all time before you went out?
No.
I think that kind of authenticity is attractive. Yes. You're like, listen, I love Jesus. I'm out here because he wants me out here. I have something you don't have, probably. It's this relationship. I'm not going to pretend to be on something I'm not. I want to share it with you. I'm not going to pretend to know all the answers. If we got a question, that's a great question. I'm going to learn from you. Let's learn each other. I'll be here every week. Let's keep the conversation going. I think that's awesome.
In fact, one of the ladies and some of the other people that come up, they're non-denominational Christians, and some of them are but I am not the greatest at impromptu prayer. Mine are very, very short and curt, and these people are very, very good. And I ask them to help me pray with other people, and so now now it's more of a team approach. It's kind of funny because I think everybody has to kind of focus on, their obedience to God, but also too on their joy of God and sharing that with other people. One of the ladies from my Bible class came out to help me one day, and I swear to God, everything that the St. Paul Street Evangelization manual tells you to do, she did, but she had not read the manual. Her joy for Jesus Christ was so incredible. I mean, she's asking questions. What church do you go to? Why do you go there? But her persona, her energy was so positive and so on fire with the Spirit. I mean, she made me look bad.
I think that's great. I mean, I don't want to downplay like the goodness of being able to have great answers for that when people have questions about the Catholic faith, and that it is great for us as Catholics to kind of brush up on what good answers could be. I think Bob is a pro at having like little one-liners when people have for a lot of common questions people have about our faith. But even more than that, even though those can be great, but I think what trumps that, just as you mentioned, like an authentic joy that exudes from you because you're also in relationship with God, and people can see that. People can see that coming through you when you're speaking with them, that you're not making them a project. If they understood the answer to this question, then they would become Catholic. It's like, no, I want to understand them for where they're coming from and understand their faith background. And then I want to hear about their experience with the Catholic Church, and I want to speak into any false lies that maybe they have come to believe about it, but be able to do that in the context of getting to know them and having a conversation. Right.
And I tell you, what has been an incredible treasure and an incredible resource is the St. Paul Street Evangelization Workbook. You know, I read that every time before I go out, and it rearranges my thought process on what I'm doing, why I'm doing it for, and best ways to communicate with people. You know, I think it's just an invaluable resource, that small little booklet. And so we're very excited about what we're doing. I will say this before I forget. I think I go out by myself quite a bit. And it's just a matter of me bringing more people in and getting them engaged. But so that's one thing. If you can have a team, you know, go out in 2s or 3s. If you have a team, you can really, you open up the avenues for different types of communications with different types of personalities. You know, women sometimes will connect with women, of course, better than I could or would. And so it's nice to have somebody there. It's really, really, really powerful to have someone who used to be one faith and has converted to Catholicism, because they can bring an incredible, powerful story. People remember the stories. They might not remember all the theology, but they'll remember the stories. And, you know, it's been very, very effective to have someone who's maybe a convert go with you as well, you know, or who had drifted away, who's a revert. Revert, they call it revert, I guess. So.
Well, I wanted to ask you, Jeff, do you have a favorite evangelization story?
By going out, I'm just learning a lot and just trying to just develop relationships. I don't have one instance or one person I can say. I do find myself changing though. I guess I'm self-evangelizing myself and evangelizing to my parish. I notice now that when I have a chance to talk to people about the Catholic faith, I do. I've been reaching out myself to some of my relatives who've left the church. You know, they're wonderful people, but they've left the church. I'm actually talking to some of my clients too, because I have a good speaking relationship with them and a trust relationship with them. So I find myself being aware of more opportunities to share the faith. One of the greatest things that you guys have put together is in our communication with people is to have something to invite them to. And, you know, since I run the Bible study at my parish, I said, well, we're doing a Bible study on Romans. We're starting that in September. And you are invited to come. It's going to be here, and here at this time. You know, our church is 2 blocks away from where they have the Salem market every Saturday. So people are very familiar with that area. So to be able to invite them for that, or to, if you are in a good talking relationship with them and want to discuss things, you know, go out for a cup of coffee, whatever. You just want to tie in that relationship. So it's, you know.
Yeah. Tell us about that woman who was there with you for 2 hours. Was she like seriously seeking, or was she just kind of hanging out with you, asking random questions? What was her story?
Well, she was, she's a Christian, and she probably will be there tomorrow too. And she's very, very delightful, very, very committed to God, and she's an evangelist herself, telling people about, the Bible and spiritual experiences. We have some conversations, and she's starting to ask about. In fact, we had a little bit of a discussion, we'll call it, about purgatory. And she's starting to ask more and more things about the Catholic Church, and we're becoming good friends, which is kind of cool. One thing I noticed, this I gleaned also too from listening to Scott Hahn's conversion story, Marcus Grodek's conversion story. Who is it? Jimmy Aiken, not Jimmy Aiken. I forget his name. They talk about once they started to delve into church history, that their minds started to change, and they started to realize that this was God's church. And I noticed that with a lot of folks that I talk to, they have no understanding of church history. And a lot of times you may assume that other people have a better knowledge of the Bible, but where the Catholic, the typical Catholic may not be able to quote scripture, book and verse, we know the story, And I had to talk to one guy about, where confession came from, and the retaining of sins or loosing of sins. And he said, no, that's got to be in your Catholic catechism. I said, no, it's in the Acts of the Apostles. And he said, you can find it right there. And he was, and I wasn't doing it combatively, but I was doing it, in order to inform him, so to speak. So it's every occurrence, every encounter is very surprising, and you learn, so you talk to another person about it. So.
Yeah. When it comes to purgatory, I just say, listen, I get them to recognize that they're not perfect, right? And I say, you're not perfect. We're Christians, but we're not perfect, right? And they'll agree. And then I'll say, in heaven, we're going to be perfect, right? And they'll agree. And I'll say, so we're going to go from imperfect to perfect, right? And they're like, yeah. And I'm like, that change is purgatory. That change, they recognize that it has to happen. And that change is God making us perfect. It's purgatory. You don't need a whole Bible, course. You just need to get them to recognize that they're not perfect, and they will be, and that change is purgatory. It's God making you perfect, and that seems to.
And I said, right, and when somebody says something, when we talk about purgatory, I go to the verse that nothing unclean, I think will be in heaven or will be with the Father, and they agree to that. Now, how that develops is a different story, but at least there's an agreement there. Like with the confession, you find it right in the Bible. I'm on a regular study program using SPSE resources, and I've got some others from Catholic Answers. So, and when I get these questions, I write them down or I remember them, and then the following week, I'm studying about them. How would I respond to somebody? If they ask me again, or if I have that question, I'll see that person again, because many times they'll come back to the market. It gives me a reason to talk to them. So I mean, it's just have to be open.
That's why it's always fun going to trainings that even Bob leads, because that's what kind of keeps us up at night. When after we evangelize, we're like, I wish I would have said this, And it wasn't even that, like, I wish not every answer is the perfect answer for every situation. And we have to be guided by the Spirit, and each of our conversations be open to what maybe what that particular person may need to hear in front of us. So I don't want to say that we just have all these answers, but I do think there's a lot of common ones that can help put people at ease and also answer questions. And that's only something that it's a muscle we exercise, just like working out. When you're out there and you're evangelizing and you're used to having conversations, you're able to find ways to be able to answer questions that are both non-confrontational, loving, but also they have the truth. And so it's not like you have to back down from that or apologize for it, but you're able to share it in a way that actually can be well received.
Yeah. Fear plays a lot. When you're out there and you're fearful, it's like, you're like, oh, you get put on the spot and you're automatically go into panic mode, like I just did with trying to say that sentence. But yeah, you get that thing and you're like, oh, I got this deer in the headlights. And as that fear subsides and you're more comfortable, you can take a step back and think about it for a minute and then come up with an answer. But if you're scared, you're just like, oh no, I got to get out of here. But as you go more and more, you're more relaxed and you can think more clearly.
Yeah. You're always less fearful. I'm always less fearful if I have somebody there with me. It's just to have somebody else there with you. It's very helpful. I'll go out tomorrow, but I've got some people that want to join me out on the street. We're going to integrate St. Paul Street evangelization techniques and programs through our youth ministry and through our Hispanic parishioners as well. In fact, they were asking me at the parish council meetings, well, when do you go out? I said, I'll be there this Saturday from 9 to 11 or 10 to 12. And they were writing it down. So now I've got, it's very exciting now because I've got a movement in the parish to where we're going to start being an evangelizing parish, a parish that is going to create intentional disciples, which is a great term, I think. We're very, very excited about what's happening here in Oregon. Very excited.
What you might want to try is like the day of, like 2 hours before you're going out, just try calling one of these guys, a cold call. Hey, I'm going out in 2 hours. You want to go? And maybe the Holy Spirit will be working on them. You know what I mean? Try one of these spontaneous calls so you're not going out alone. If you're going out alone, like you said, it's better if you're not. So maybe just try to give somebody a cold call, like a couple hours before. That's what I would suggest. Maybe the Holy Spirit will move, right? And inspire them.
Yeah. Well, this has been, again, this is like training camp, going out there by myself. And believe me, I gave myself every excuse in the world not to go, but he told me to go. So I just went, and it's been some of the best experiences of my life, to be honest with you. And it's deepened my faith, because when people come up with questions, you say to yourself, well, why do I believe that? And so I'm back in the books, hitting the books and listening to, podcasts and YouTube. And it's very good. It's very good.
And it all makes sense.
Yes, my faith.
It all makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, I would say, go out with somebody else and just go out as to have fun, meet people, but also too, I'm at a point now to where I'm developing relationships. Now I can start asking some deeper questions, and starting to engage. Because for the most part, it's just been more of a topical conversation, and we've been doing praying. But I'm going to approach people with a spirit of love and ask them, well, why are you going here, or why aren't you attending a church? And get their viewpoint on it. And just, I've got more courage now to where I can dig deeper.
Yeah. Well, praise God, Jeff. Thanks for coming on, just telling us about your experience getting started and how you were able to move from this place of fear to this place of joy and excitement about going out. And we're praying for you as you go out tomorrow, as you continue to build a team there in Salem. And so if anyone's near Jeff in Salem, you can get in contact with him on our website, streetevangelization.com. Just go to locations. We have a map, or you can even type it in and search it. You'll see his team page, and you can contact them directly from there to get involved. And so we hope that you do that. And if you're not near Salem, we may have a team near you, or if you feel called to start your own team, please just go to our website, streetevangelization.com. There it is again, just so you can click get involved. And I'll personally reach out to you if you fill out a form about how to get started. So we're about to, Jeff, I can't believe that time went by so fast. It's already, we're coming to the end of the podcast. Yeah. I just wanted to give you one last chance to say, do you have any encouragement or advice for those who are already team leaders or discerning about being a team leader and evangelist?
I say, well, all I can say is that, again, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. Just follow the directions in the workbook. Access the resources on the website for your own apologetics training. There's plenty of resources out there, but don't hesitate. Buy a sign. People love our signs, by the way. I have the sign that says prayer station, and they love it. I mean, in fact, I had a couple of Protestant guys from a different church goes, "Where'd you get that sign?" And I told them. Then they kind of didn't say anything. But they come back every week, though, and talk with me. So that's kind of cool. But the sign is beautiful, and it's non-threatening, too. I mean, it's non-threatening, especially now. If there's a time you can get out, do it now. with our current, our current social climate. Just get out there, have fun, and just look at it as a training process, an exploratory relationship building process. And, I guess the most important thing, which surprised me, I don't know if I have to stop talking or not, but is that in my training, that the first thing that we have to do as evangelists is focus on our own prayer life, and that has to come first, and that just kind of really not surprised me, but I just didn't even think about it, and that's what's given me the strength to go out. So,
well, thank you, Jeff. Thanks for being on and just sharing that with us. It's absolutely important. How can we bring people to Jesus if we ourselves are not doing everything we can to be united to him? Bob, was there anything else you wanted to add?
No, I just think that was great. You didn't start out as a pro. You're not a pro yet, but it doesn't matter. God doesn't need us to be pros. He just needs us to be faithful. And he's going to bless all these encounters, and he's going to bless us as evangelists. So there's no excuse not to. I mean, the devil gets in our ear and he says, don't do it. It's going to rain, or you don't feel well, or all kind of things. You got to ignore him. That's his tactic. You got to ignore him, persevere, pray the rosary, pray the St. Michael prayer, and just go. Right, Jeff?
Yes, sir.
All right. Well, yes, thanks everybody for joining us today. Again, go to our website, evangelization.com, to get in contact with Jeff to find your own team or to start your own team in your area. And we are St. Paul Street Evangelization, where we work with God for the salvation of souls through the proclamation of the gospel in the public square. Thanks for joining us, everybody. God bless.
God bless. Thank you.